In this video, I'm going to make some bold claims, but I'm going to back them up. First of all, I want to say that Buddha and Jesus were the same character. Now, that doesn't mean they're the same person. It means they're the same character. I can explain this, but it's a little thick. You have to spend time. You can't just sit there and say, no, they're not. Okay, man of 1,000 faces. They're both doing something in the background on a template that if you understood it, you would go, wow, there's something strange there. For example, if you knew the story of the Buddha, you would know that when it came time for his enlightenment, he spent time under the Bodhi tree, meditating, pondering, disconnected from everything until he had it figured out. And as soon as he started off to start teaching, to start what he was going to do, the first thing happened is he was tempted by Mara. If we go to Jesus, what we're going to see is that when he crossed the threshold, or when he was baptized, what did he do? He spent 40 days in the wilderness, praying and fasting. He's doing the same thing the Buddha did. And as soon as he leaves, what happens? He's tempted by Satan. We're going to see reoccurring motifs like that tells us a little bit something different. We have to separate from, this is a Buddha, he was a person, this was Jesus, he was a person. Let's just forget the idea that they were people at this point and say they're the same character. It would be as if somebody in Greek antiquity played Jason on the stage as they're putting on a show, the Argonaut, or the Voyage of the Argo. Somebody plays Jason; they're that character. Later on, in more recent times, Hollywood does a movie on it, and there's an actor that plays Jason. Same character, different people, same character. Okay, this is a little bit different because they're different genres. The Buddha, Jesus, Buddhism, Christianity, those are not all in one myth, the one Greek myth. How does that work? They're a different genre, but let's talk about that. All right, I'm going to cover just a little bit of history here because I don't want to just launch into it thinking people know what Buddhism is about. And I'm not going to cover Buddhism not really, neither Buddhism or Christianity. What I'm going to be doing is showing examples between stories and concepts from Buddhism and stories and concepts from Christianity that are similar motifs. Okay, we've all heard, there's videos out there on what Buddhism and Christianity is. That's not this right here. We're looking at why Jesus was a Buddha. Okay. And that he found his Buddha nature. That's what we need to talk about. What is a Buddha nature? In the West, we really typically don't know what that is. All right, Buddhism is not the same way as an Abrahamic religion in any way, shape, or form. They do not relinquish to a God out there and that the God out there controls things. That's not at all the way Buddhism works. The way Buddhism works is that life unfolds and functions on the planet based on the experiences and the judgments that we're holding up here, and that we flow through life based on this right here. And that when we're born, we all have a Buddha nature. We're pure. That's the Buddha nature right there. The mind that is not contained or is not full of judgments. That's the Buddha nature, the pure state of mind. Everybody has a Buddha nature, and you find it when you achieve nirvana. Nirvana is inner purity. What that means is that I've got this bundle of memories that I'm living through, the pain, the shame, the hurt, the anguish. Only I know it. Because I sit there quietly and I put on a happy face, but inside I'm thinking, this is fretful and that's painful. And if I bring up this memory, my palms sweat and my face turns red. You literally can have physiological reactions. That is us. Buddhism teaches to watch this come, watch it go, heal it, separate from it, become bigger than that. Don't be the victim. What we're doing is trying to heal our lives. And that once you do that you're on that path of healing. Once you've gone through and you get to a point where you go, you know what, I'm okay. What happened right there is you just found your Buddha nature and you're living in nirvana. Nirvana is a state of mind which is just a pure state. I feel good. I am not living through my memories. I'm living through my higher self. Simple. Sounds complicated. That's everybody's Buddha nature. Everybody has a Buddha nature, even if you're not a Buddhist. That's just a term. It means pure mind state. And you can have a pure mind state from anywhere in the world. You don't have to be a Buddhist. You don't have to be anything. That's a human thing. All right, Buddha actually tells us to seek emptiness. And that can be something you go, what does that even mean? Well, you know what? What does Jesus say? Blessed are the poor. Blessed are the poor in spirit. There are other ones. These are all going to be the same teaching, but you have to understand how they work. That that if you come to the altar to leave a gift, and while there you remember you have aught against your brother, don't leave your gift. Set it down, go resolve the aught against your brother, then come back and give the gift. And elsewhere, there's something that says, your Father who sees in secret will reward you in secret. Why are you leaving a gift at the altar? You want good graces. If you're looking for a better life, that's what good graces are. If you're looking for a better life and you remember you've got a bundle of things up here that are unresolved, that's the ought against your brother, stop looking for the better life. It's not going to work. Go resolve that ought first and then come back and life automatically flows better. Right there is a Buddha teaching held in ways that people would go, I don't even know what that means. What is the mote in your eye? What is the third eye? We need to open the third eye. The third eye and the mote, this is the eye. It's not simply a metaphorical eye, it's an actual eye. But what it is, you have to think about it conceptually. It's where your perception is. It's the eye of perception. You've got eyes up here that are bringing in information, but all they do is bring in information. They don't know if it's good or bad. You can hear something, your ears hear the sound, but your ears don't know if it's good or bad. You can smell something that's, makes your gag reflex like, oh, something toxic here. We got to get out of here. But the nose doesn't know that that's good or bad. Okay, somewhere in the brain, all of these things come together and we perceive and we remember and we hold things and we hold our memories. And that right there, that's the third eye. That's the eye. That's the mote. When the mote is in the eye, that's it right there. We need to seek emptiness. We want to become poor in spirit. What's a spirit? We have to treat spirit as if it's not, that it doesn't mean disembodied. It's an analogous term. Spirit is what we live through. Spirit is, when you're talking to your buddy, walking on the road to Damascus, yammering away and, herding the sheep all day long, talking about the girls you saw at the well. You make it there and you never even paid attention. Okay, there's something happening in the background. That's our spirit. Okay, and it's the bundle of things that we hold. So if we look at Jesus' teachings, if we interpret them, if we don't interpret them, what we're going to do is wait for Jesus to return. Okay, the Buddha started out as Siddhartha, and when he became enlightened, that's the Buddha. That's what that means, enlightened one. That just means I got it figured out. I resolved it. Yep, okay. I am now the Buddha. All right, when we get over into the Christian material or the Jesus material, it takes a turn that makes it incredibly difficult to access. In fact, it sounds sacrilegious to people. That is, if you're following the Buddha's path, starts out as Siddhartha, become enlightened. That's your path too. You start out as yourself and you become enlightened. You transition from one thing to another. So everybody is going to take a Buddha path to find their Buddha nature. If we get to Jesus, are we going to find that same thing? Jesus starts out as Jesus, becomes the Christ. Everybody has to find their Christ nature, and you do that by finding the kingdom of heaven within. So instead of nirvana, kingdom of heaven within. Buddha nature, Christ nature. Emptiness, poor in spirit. Third eye, mote in the eye. Karma, cause and effect. The measure you mete will be likewise meted unto you. Cause and effect. And of course, the seek emptiness and poor in spirit. Resolve the bundle of memories that we're living through that is hurting us. It's a healing path if you know how to follow it. If you don't follow it, you're going to worship it and wait till you die. And life's going to be over. And you're going to sit here in life telling people, wait till you die. You're going to find out. When the Bible, when you interpret it, says, do it now. Enter the narrow gate. That's the few chosen right there. The many called standing outside. How many Christians and denominations are there waiting for Jesus to return when Jesus says, before all of you have passed, I will return? Why would that be? That's because Christ returns the same way the Buddha returns. Every time somebody follows the path. Anytime somebody finds their inner purity, they found their Buddha nature or their Christ nature or their pure nature is what, I mean, to remove the baggage, that's what you want to do is say, I'm just seeking my pure nature, my pure self, my higher self, not living through my memories. And if I continue to experience them and they got me in a turmoil, I have to stop and go resolve them. I cannot just sit here and let them go and as time goes by, they get bigger, they get worse. That's what meditation is, watching. It's not interacting with that stuff. Stop practicing with it. When you're tossing and turning at night and your consciousness is in this mental turmoil, there's this periodic voice that comes in, the voice of God. You have to understand what's going on. That's outside of your conscious turmoil. You hear it. It sounds like it's from a distance, perhaps. It says, hey, you got to go to sleep. There's nothing you can do tonight. And you hear that for a second, but then you slip right back into the turmoil. The conscious is experiencing the memories, and it's also experiencing the higher awareness right there. But it doesn't know that. The consciousness has to say, oh, this is the higher self. Notice when it talks, you don't feel the turmoil. It's outside of the memories. That's what we need to get to. And resolving those memories is what that's about. That's the ought against your brother. Resolve that, and then your Father who sees in secret will reward you in secret. Okay, I want to try to keep this short because it's kind of just, this is a conceptual thing. I don't want to bring up verses. You have to kind of know what's going on. But anyway, I hope it was interesting. Yeah. Everybody look for your Buddha nature, your Christ nature. Everybody wants to find nirvana, wants to find the kingdom of heaven within. All of the language that's used by the Buddha, by Jesus, by any gurus and sages from antiquity, Lao Tzu, it's all very cryptic. It's not plain language. When you read it, it's like, boy, what is that? That's some weird stuff. And if you think it through if you don't think it through, the meek will inherit the earth. Stop and think about that. Look around. Do they? No. The meek will inherit. It's meek now? Yeah. Something's not right. Okay? The earth is your experience. Meek is with yourself. How are you on yourself? You have to know how to manipulate these and how they're made. An anchored ship cannot sail. I'm the ship. What am I hanging on to? I can't get free of it. I need to wash the inside of the cup because the one who made the outside also made the inside. I'm the cup. Whatever's inside of it is my life experience. Buddha's going to tell us that evil follows us like a wheel. If we've had a poor thought, something that's in there, that the pain is going to follow cyclically, like an ox that draws the carriage, through life, or draws the carriage. We put ourselves into that. We're the ox that draws the carriage through life. Pain follows cyclically based on something that's impure. They all work that way. You have to look at them and go, boy, those are cryptic, but you have to make it your own. So when you're reading them, you have to interpret them that way. They go up here, not out there. They're written to sound like they might go out there, but if you analyze them, they don't really hold up. It's like you would say, the meek will inherit the earth. No, they don't. Blessed are the poor. Physically? That's what it says in Luke. Go to Matthew, blessed are the poor in spirit. It takes a little different tone. If you understand them, blessed are the poor in spirit, they all go up here. It doesn't matter. You can have it worded either way. Blessed are the poor in spirit means devoid of up here. Blessed are the poor. What is this? It's a spiritual teaching. It goes up here. You don't need to hear that it's poor. Once you know what to do with it, it kind of unlocks. It becomes easier to understand. But you're going to find out that this is an inward path to inner healing. In the same way the Buddha taught, Jesus material, when Jesus left the desert and was tempted by Satan and survived the temptation, he found his Buddha nature right there. That's him finding his Buddha nature. They didn't call it that, but watch the motifs. It's common. All right. Hope it was fun, interesting. I don't want to make anybody mad. I'm looking for the truth. I want to know what's going on. See you in the next video.